Alright, so now we have a Fancy Pants logo, hand drawn like a little kid. Pretty good. Okay, so now Ness is going to take over. You ready? Alright, so today we're going to learn how to center punch on center every time. So we got our thing marked, kind of come in from a corner. That way you can see the point where it's at. First, I think that's pretty good, so we're going to give it a tap. Light tap. Okay? And as you can see, if you can see or can't see, we're off. And the odds of being off are greater than being on, at least in my world. So, we have it angled in the direction we need it to go. Give it another tap. That's better. So, we're going to do it again. Pretty good. Now, that's pretty much right where I want it. Perfect. So, that's pretty good. But, to seal the deal, you get the big hammer in there. We're not shy, we give it a good whack. Pow! Look at that. So now we have a nice center punch crater. That drill bit's not going to wander out of that at all. Okay, now, so we're going to have some homemade tools, some metalworking tools metalworking tools are expensive, so let's start over here. My metalworking drawer. And there's not a lot of money spent in here. This is kind of the way I like it. So the first thing you're going to need is a hammer. If you don't already have one. So here's a lesson in hammers. This is the cheapest hammer you can buy. This is Princess Auto, Harbor Freight in the States, you know, China hammer. Now, if you look at the face of this, I'm going to rotate it around in the light. If you could feel this with your fingers, it's all scarred up, like a pimple-faced teenager's face, right? Now, this doesn't have much use at all. This used to be pointed, and it's not now. So that tells me this metal's soft, this hammer's junk. Not worth buying, not worth having. This one, on the other hand, is old. It's broken because I did not have the proper metal shaping equipment. This was a power hammer, this was a plenishing hammer, this was a pick, this was, I think, everything you needed to do. I really wailed on this thing for a lot of years. The last few days of its life were pretty intense. But as you can see, the hammer is, if you get the light in here, this is nice and smooth, see? This is a snap-on hammerhead from, I think, the late 70s. But this has been through hell and back, and there's no marks on it. It's like wet sanded smooth. This is awesome, good. I'll be getting a new handle for this because I don't believe you can buy another hammer like this anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. So you get your hammer. Another homemade thing. This is just round stock, welded to this. Chuck it up in your vise, and you can put a nice roll on things. You know, let your imagination do the walking. And that's kind of what this is. This is just different shapes of solid metal. This is an old cast iron. It's actually iron, like for ironing your clothes. I think this used kerosene or something. This is before electricity, but this thing is hard. This thing is heavy, and it's smooth, and it's got nice edges. It's really good for corners on door edges, or when you need to bring the metal to a nice, use your imagination. I actually use this thing quite a bit. More found tools. This is out of a piece of farm equipment. It's just an input shaft, but good hard steel. Tapers on round. These can be used for doing a little bit of dimple die. You use dimple dies, or you can get creative with your own. Bearing races. Okay, old bearings, keep them. If you're hammering apart bearings or you're next to a driveline shop, see if they have any old bearings. See these different, look at that taper on that. See? You don't need dimple dies, you don't got to pay for that mess. We have all kinds of stuff here. What else we got? I think that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, here's a good one. See? This is just what it is. Piece of heavy solid round stock. Flat iron, thick. I welded them together. See, look at these awful. Look at this awful bit of mess. These are my first welds, Natha. Hey, my very first time. Anyway, I hung on to this and drug it around like that kid on Charlie Brown with the blanket. And that's kind of like I used it for cutting straight lines with a torch because my unsteady hands needed to be steadied. But since then, see where this comes together in here? You can roll, sometimes panels roll and they meet on a nice hard line seam. So you take your, and just lightly work it in there, get a nice seam, or crown, or whatever you're trying to achieve. You can see how you could weld two pieces of pipe together and you could do a peak on a hood or something like that, right? But this I find a new use for all the time. Lately I've been sticking it and banging out dents. You'll go, like for instance, underneath the hood, you'll find access in the bracing of the fender, and if you can get in there, there's a nice straight line here. So usually there's a body line on the bottom quarter of the car. You get in there and whack, whack, whack. This thing's heavy. It also works good for putting seams together, lap welded seams, getting them tight before you seam seal. Other than that, it's just regular dollies and things like that. Nothing to write home about. But over here, we're gonna have a special on. Okay, here. Now we're doing gas welding. Problem with gas welding is usually you're hammer and dollying to get a tight fit, or you're hammer welding. And usually you're doing auto body when you're doing torch welding. Hammer welding, you need a hammer and dolly. You need both hands. But you're running a torch. What do you do with the torch? Here's what you do. Scrap piece of angle iron cut. Torch goes in, runs off the side. That way the flame doesn't burn a hole in your concrete and the torch stays put. That way you can let go of it, do your hammer and dolly work, go back to your torch. This is exactly what it looks like. This is off of my oxygen acetylene bottles, right? So when I got to take my bottles back, I'm just going to cut the tacks and give it back. Nobody looks, nobody cares. What else we got? Grinding discs. These are for like a 4.5 inch grinder, whatever. These are grinder cutoff wheels. These are always on sale. Okay? These, for die grinders, are never on sale. These are really expensive and they burn up fast. The material and the thickness is the same as this. So why are we paying extra money? Seems dumb. Here's why. This hole's big, this hole's small. Okay? Now, this disc is burned right up. I can't use it no more on the grinder. But, look at that. It'll still work on this. So, how do we make that work? A washer of the appropriate size. Washer of the appropriate size. Take the washer, lay it flat in your vise, open it up, give it one of those, makes it concave. What that does is that helps your screw here and this washer guy, there's a taper on this and a taper on this, and that helps them find center, because you will have to kind of mess around with it to make sure, spin it like this, make sure it's straight. Okay? It's not really that bad though. It works well. And that way, like every single one of these I burn up, I can run right out on this, right? Mm-hmm. And these are always on sale.
Yep.
Son of a gun, Nessa. Only a dirty dog would charge you that much money for stuff. Alright, what else we got? Okay, sheet metal working. Alright. Shrinkers. Primarily, the magic to sheet metal working is shrinking. Now this is like a regular shrinker stretcher that you would buy anywhere else. You pull the thing, the little dies squeeze together, they grab the metal and they pull it together and squish it flat on itself, gathering the metal and squashing it flat. These, you can only stick your metal in that far, to here. Okay? So unless you're doing a wheel well opening, it's not much good for nothing. Now, I was building a motorcycle, made a gas tank for it and a bunch of stuff. I did use this. It does work. However, it's limited how far you can reach into your metal. You can only put a shrink in on the outer edge that far. Which, if you're doing anything fun, anything really creative with metal, this is zero help and zero fun at all. You can only nibble the outside edge of it. So what did I do? I made this. This does essentially the same thing, but if you look now, so look at this. See how much further we can reach in? Okay, this allowed me to put shrinking further into the metal to really pull it down and around into a thing. Now, how does that work? Stick the sheet metal in, like here, through here, and we twist this way, and then we twist that way. Now what that does is that takes the sheet metal, like, and it puts like a taco chip, like a horseshoe hat, semicircle shape, gathers it up and it puckers it up. Okay? And from there we take our dies, whatever radius we need, we put it in a vise and then we smash it down with the hammer, right?
Yep.
And that helps shrink the metal, pull it around into a three-dimensional curve. Now, to make this work, punch, excessive welding. And then I noticed that these were deflecting a little too much. So what I did was I threw a heat treat on them, and boom, it just works. So this actually, you can, between this and my drawer of ingenuity or cheap redneckedness, you can do you can do really good work. Does it happen fast? Not exactly. But as long as you have a plan, it still happens. It's not that painfully bad. Now, when I was doing the motorcycle, I was doing enough metal work that I bought a Plenishing hammer. Okay? And the first hammer they sent me was no good. And I phoned them and I said, hey, your hammer sucks. And they said, well, hey, here's a new one. Keep the old one. So I kept the old dies. I sacrificed a set of dies to make these. What are these? These are essentially like a power hammer like you see on Discovery Channel with all these highfalutin demigod car builders. That's all it is. Okay, do you see this here? See the bean? I grinded this bean shape in here and a taper off the end. Okay, and this one, exact opposite of a bean. Right? They go together like this. And I can do a video of how We'll do a video where you get right intense with paper templates and things to achieve three-dimensional fit-ups and all kinds of stuff. It's kind of cool. It blows the lid off of stuff. But here's what happens. So this can be sitting this way. Metal goes in this way. These smash together like this. As the metal goes in, this puckers the metal up. As you shove it in, it starts to pucker up. And then this is that taco chip shape I was talking about. So it blisters it up that way, still smashing together. When you pull your metal out, this is flat, this is flat. That smashes the taco chip onto itself. So the taco chip raises up the metal, pulls it together, and this smashes it down onto itself. But it does it fast, so just a quick in and out. And I did this so that what goes in and out, if you need to, you can kind of pull it down a little bit. They have a machine called a Pull Max, which is again Discovery Channel highfalutin crap, and that's basically about, it's the scale of this. It's not a huge power hammer. It's kind of in between, but it doesn't matter. I set it up. I tried it out on my Plenishing hammer, and it didn't like that at all. Okay, so I'm gonna have to rethink it. I have a plan for making a power hammer if I ever get into this stuff again, or if YouTube says, hey, this guy's doing okay, watch his stuff, then I'll make it. But right now I can't justify doing that. But yeah, Discovery Channel, this is where it's at. It's okay, you can laugh, Nessa. Sometimes I'm funny. I guess that's it, eh? Is that it? That's pretty good. Hey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so more videos, more stuff. Yeah, thanks for helping, Nessa. Anyway, like, subscribe, toodles. Bye.